I'm Randy Stone, the co-writer of Bullet Adventures, and you're listening to True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. If you want to drop me a line, you can contact me at john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. On this episode, I chat with Randy Stone about his Kickstarter project, Bullet Adventures. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, and it's also available on the True North Country Comics channel on YouTube. I invite you to like and subscribe. Based in Surrey, British Columbia, Randy has written, drawn, inked, or lettered various comics, including Eskimo Kisses with Scout Comics, Champion at Arcana, a story in Alterna's If Horror Anthology, and his self-published collection of shorts, Death and Comics. Having success with his first Kickstarter, there are more projects in the works for Randy's self-publishing brand, Altruist Comics. Randy's current Kickstarter, launched on September 15th, is entitled Bullet Adventures, which he wrote with Jordan Alsaca, accompanied by artist Lara Kane and lettered by Lucas Gattoni. Bursting from the pages of the original Bullet comic one-shot kickstarted last year, the Silver Age speedster returns in an all-new continuing series, Bullet Adventures. The first issue is a brand new chapter of the speedy hero's life as Dale D'Souza, on the eve of his death. Dale has an encounter with an acquaintance from the future and takes a journey to his past. And so, without further ado, here's my chat with Randy Stone about his Kickstarter project, Bullet Adventures. So, Randy Stone, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Happy to be here, John.
Appreciate your time. Before we get started, though, I want to ask you, what's on your bedside reading table? What are you reading today?
So on my nightstand is actually a pile of Kill or Be Killed that I haven't touched. I think I got about 4 issues deep, and the rest is still waiting for me. So I haven't read new comics in ages, it feels. Pretty much the only thing I'm reading is stuff my friends send me or the books I'm working on. And that's pretty much how it's been for the past couple of years.
Yeah, I can relate to that. It's there's a big pile I have to get to. Life gets in the way, I guess, sometimes.
Exactly.
Hopefully we'll get to it. There you go. Well, I want to talk to you about your latest project called Bullet Adventures. And I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about the story, maybe how it came to be.
Okay. So it is a follow-up to the single-issue one-shot that I put out last year through Kickstarter. That was a Silver Age story set in the 60s where this Dale D'Souza looks back on his time as he first got powers, became a hero, fell in love. Actually set in the 60s, so it had a Silver Age influence as well as being actually of that time. I had always wanted to come back to the characters, so I hooked up with Jordan Alsaca, who's the co-writer of the first book as well, and we started kicking around ideas for an ongoing series. And we've actually got 4 mostly in the can issues for this new continuing series, and it's just been a lot of fun. It's a love letter to superheroes. It's everything I liked growing up and everything that I want to give my kids to read. It's just a lot of fun. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, the preview copy that you sent to me definitely has a definitive Silver Age comics feel to it. That's what I got from that, and definitely I could see, back in my day when I was reading comic books, this would have fit in quite nicely. That's for sure. Now you just hinted about your collaborators on this book. Maybe if you could delve a little bit deeper about your work with them and maybe how you worked with them to create this book. For sure. So Jordan, he's returning. Basically, when we did the initial one shot, it was a story I had written a decade prior. It just sat around. I had pitched it and nobody was interested at the time. So it was an idea I wanted to come back to. And I found him on Twitter. I liked some of the work that he had been doing. And I approached him about basically stripping this book down, building it back up again so it was just a better product. We had Kath Lobo on art and, of course, Lucas Gattoni doing the letters. When it came time for this ongoing series, Kath wasn't available when we were first putting it together. So I actually found another artist, Lara Kane, also through Twitter. I find everybody through Twitter, basically. She just had a sample of a Superman image that just captured the pure joy of superhero comics to me, just that awe-inspiring, ideal hero. And so bringing her on board to take over for Kath in a way, 2 very different styles, but kind of a common thread as far as their characterization. They just have really real kind of qualities, not realistic, but just the personalities show through. She was a really good fit. So she's drawn this first issue here. And of course, Lucas is back on letters.
Yeah. I want to ask you about the collaboration process. You and Jordan worked on the story, and Lara was working on the art. Did you have the entire script completed, and then you just said, okay, to Lara, take over from here, and away you go? Is that how it went?
Yeah, I think we were probably a couple issues deep in the script before she started drawing the first issue. So there wasn't a lot of collaboration with her as far as just fine-tuning pages and specifics of each page. The script had been done. So it was really just Jordan and myself hashing out these ideas. I'd pitch things to him, he'd pitch things to me, and we kind of play off each other, which was just a super fun exercise where you have maybe just a little throwaway idea, and then he'd come back and build on that, and it was actually like surprisingly good the way that he put a spin on it, and then just that back and forth process. It's a lot of fun for me. I think the product is perfect. There's nothing that I could have done that could even touch what the final result is, because he's a great writer. Compliments to him, but also just playing off each other's ideas. Two heads are better than one. Different perspectives like that. Really cool.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you had done a previous issue. I presume that's where most of the character design had already been completed, so Lara didn't have to work from scratch?
Yeah, definitely. As far as this one is time travel, so most of the story takes place back in the 60s. So Lara had done designs for the modern day Dale, who's just even older, and then future Michael. So he's an elderly guy. She did a beautiful costume design on this really sci-fi kind of jumpsuit sort of thing. But otherwise, we do go back to the past and existing characters there, Michael, Dale, Joanna. The villain is Leopard Gecko. So those were all kind of established in that initial one-shot that we did last year.
Cool. To really tie off the Silver Age feel of the book, you even include a backup story written by Dino Caruso. I'm wondering how that came about.
So I was looking for backup stories just to kind of round out this issue and the next several. Kind of two reasons. I wanted more content for my book, but I also wanted to give opportunities to up-and-coming creators. I find that aside from maybe anthologies, there's not a lot of opportunities for new or emerging talent to get their start. Like, where can you put some of these short stories you do? So I thought it'd be beneficial to both of us that I'd have a thicker book with more content for my readers to actually enjoy, get their money's worth, but then also have people get their work out there. When I did an anthology called Crime Pays, that was kind of the joy of it, was that I had several people putting their first published work out through my book. And it was very satisfying to know that I helped them get to that first step. And so I was hoping to do the same thing with this one through a series of backup stories in each of the issues. And so I did a call out, again, Twitter, I keep coming back to that, but I just put it out there if anybody had ideas for short stories, whether they're completed or a pitch that they wanted to send to me, if it was something that would complement the book, not necessarily, a Silver Age superhero or anything like that, just something kind of adventurous, fun, something that would just feel right alongside these ones, then give me a shout. And Dino was one of the ones who came up with a really great concept. Alex Diotto is a wonderful artist who did the work on this short story. And it's actually a continuing short that will follow up in the next 3 issues as well. Funny story is that Paul Little, who's coloring his story here, was actually the colorist of my initial Bullet pitch 12 years ago. So it never worked out. Nobody picked up on the book. No publishers were interested, and he did his thing. Wonderful work that he's done with the artist at the time, Nate Stockman, as well, who did a bunch of Image Comics, Marvel work, whatnot in between. But yeah, so just kind of funny, a pure coincidence that he was involved in this new issue of Bullet when he was there from the very start.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Like, it definitely rounds out the theme of a Silver Age comic book, because I remember, again, dating myself, those books that actually had backup stories, and it was nice to see. So it's a nice little flourish you have to the issue, which is great. And the fact that you're giving other people the opportunity to get in there is also wonderful. So I commend you on that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk to you a bit about Kickstarter. Now, you've used it before, and you're doing it again with this project.
Yeah.
I guess you've had great success with Kickstarter, so it works for you. I want to talk a little bit about the process and maybe the incentives you're offering as well.
Sure. So basically, you just put it up there, your story, your rewards, everything. The process is pretty simple. I kind of have a cookie cutter approach to how I lay out images and kind of each aspect of talking about the story, introducing creators and the rewards. So it's a familiar format. I've had some success. There have never been huge blockbuster projects on Kickstarter, but we've always funded, usually by a significant amount. So yeah, I felt comfortable doing this again. Some of the project rewards we've got, 2 different covers, one by Nico Carrizo and Fran Citarelli, and the other one by the interior artist Laura Kane. There's, of course, a digital option as well for somebody who wants just a PDF. The more interesting ones are actually commissions by both Nico and Laura, and a script edit by Jordan. So I think that's kind of a neat exclusive thing. You don't really have an opportunity to get something like this a lot of the times. And they're just wonderful creators, and they do amazing work. And I think people really benefit from backing those at those levels.
Sure. Yeah. I know that we're slowly getting out of this COVID business. Hopefully, things will be back on track soon. Do you have any plans to exhibit your book at an upcoming show, convention, that sort of thing?
Yep, I have actually already gone to a few conventions since coming out of, phasing out of the pandemic over the past year. I've done a few local shows. So I'd like to continue doing that. I don't have any plans for traveling, so that's probably just going to be Vancouver-based or somewhat near me. But yeah, so it's always nice to have my books on the table there and adding more and more as I go. Pretty cool. Actually running out of space on a 6-foot table, so I've got so much product now.
That's good. We talked about Bullet Adventures. I think you hinted that there's several stories in the works.
Yeah.
What's next for you? Is it Bullet Adventures the only thing you're focused on right now, or do you have other projects on the go?
I do have other things on the go. This one is obviously the one I'm deepest into, and because we're so far along, issue 2 is completely lettered, ready to go. That is actually, I think this will probably air later than first day, but day 1 back to the Kickstarter will actually get a PDF of number 2, just as a bonus. But yes, number 3 has been colored, so it just has to be lettered now, and number 4 is almost wrapped up coloring as well. So because I'm so far ahead on this, I want to get these out now, and that'll be my focus. But I do have a horror story in the works, another crime project that is not as far along, so nothing to really talk about at this point, but definitely Bullet Adventures for the foreseeable future.
Sounds good. So it sounds like you're going to be busy, that's for sure.
Exactly.
So with that in mind, I'm wondering, where do you recommend people go to find out more about your current and your future projects?
Well, on social media, I'm at Altruist Comics, Facebook group or page, Twitter account, Instagram. I started up a TikTok as well. I put one post on there, which is totally nothing I'm familiar with. And I joke about the fact that an old guy like me is on there. It means that it's probably on its way out. But maybe I'll try to throw a few things up there because it seems like it's the future of social media. Get the kids involved and whatever. But yeah, at Altruist Comics. I've also got a website, altruistcomics.com, with a store there. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks to Randy for taking time to chat with me. You can discover more about Randy on Twitter at Randy Stone, COTW, and online at altruistcomics.com. And you can discover more about Bullet Adventures by Altruist Comics on Kickstarter. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts. And please leave a good rating. Also check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website and follow along on Twitter at True North Comics. True North Country Comics is now on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that video channel and hit the notification button. Please send your feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks again for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2022.